DJs Tom Joyner and Steve Harvey are two big names in Countdown Radio for R&B music, but decades before them, a disc jockey named Walt Baby Love shattered racial barriers in syndicated radio.
He has now written a book about his professional, his personal, and his spiritual journey. It's titled The Gospel, according to the Reverend Walt Baby Love, and we welcome the good Reverend here this morning. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to meet y'all.
Okay, now we made it sound like you were old by saying that. We can't do that.
Well, I've been around for a while. God has given me the opportunity of having a little longevity. So I don't want to say old, but let's say we're seasoned.
We're seasoned. How did it all start for you?
Well, actually, I wanted to get into the radio business, but I really didn't know how. But while I was in the military, one of the officers that I worked for said to me, "I like the way you speak, your articulation, so on and so forth. Have you ever thought of being in television or radio?" And I said, "No, sir." He said, "You probably ought to." So I tried to get into AFN, and I couldn't get in because
Armed Forces Network.
Correct. I had what they called a critical MOS, military occupational skill. I was a light weapons infantryman.
There you go. They wanted you.
It's a paratrooper. But to make a long story short, I was able to come back to the United States and answered an ad in actually, Sam knows about my career a little bit. I answered an ad in Broadcasting Magazine, one of the little ads there. And I got this job down in Houston, Texas, and I had a chance to go on the radio with no experience. And a gentleman by the name of Dick Oppenheimer gave me an opportunity and a chance. And the next thing I knew, KILT hired me, and I became their very first black talent to work for Lynn Broadcasting Corporation.
Come on. How about that?
So that's how I got into
radio. Who came up with
Baby? When I went to work at KILT, there was this guy on the radio named Steve Lundy, and Steve was like the 6 to 10 jock, and I was the 10 to 1 a.m. type person. And anyway, what happened was he was playing the song Baby Love. I was driving to work, and you have to do the cross plug thing.
Yeah.
And what happened is he said, "Our own love is coming in here tonight at 10 o'clock. Make sure you're here for Walt Baby Love." Our program director heard it. He liked it. There was another guy on the radio with my real last name, which is Shaw, and you couldn't have two Shaws on the radio because of Arbitron.
Right.
So he said, "From now on, you are Walt Baby Love." And I said, "Cool, I'm Walt Baby Love."
Done and done.
Well, now, you mentioned that you were in the Army,
right.
82nd Airborne paratrooper.
Correct.
And now you have the only radio show where you have military shout-outs.
That's correct.
And what are some of the shout-outs that you hear from the Middle East, for example?
Well, first of all, I should tell you what happened was a lady by the name of Commander Brenda Malone in Baghdad called me up about 8-9 months ago, and she said, "You're very popular with the troops. They know your background from the Vietnam era war and all that kind of stuff, and they listen to you." She said, "Would you consider allowing us to have troops speak on your radio show?" I said, "Absolutely. Anything I can do for the troops, I would gladly do." And so she said, "Well, let me go to my superiors. We're going to talk about this. We've researched you. We'd like to do this, and we'd like to do these shout-outs." And I said, "No problem." So I said, long as there's someplace between 30 seconds and 60 seconds, we'll do this, and if you could give us, 3 or 4 a week, 5 or 6, we'll put them in our 3 music programs because we have 4 syndicated radio shows. And I said, and any joy and happiness that we could bring to the troops and their families or loved ones back home, we would gladly do.
Right.
And so it took her a long time to do this, and finally we got started doing it. And some of the things they say are like, "Hey, Mom, thanks for the cookies.
Aww.
We're okay. God bless you. We'll be home at a certain time," blah, 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 blah. And they might say, "Tell my sister I'm looking forward to pictures of the baby. Send me pictures of the baby."
Aww.
And so...
That's beautiful.
And you should probably just know this, is when this war started 4 years ago, I had the privilege of being the Martin Luther King Day speaker at Fort Stewart, Georgia, for the 3rd ID, who was the spearhead in the attack in Iraq. And I had the privilege of going down speaking for the King holiday, and right after that, these young men and women had to embark on first the trucks and then aircraft, taking them to Kuwait to stage for this thing. And I got to spend 4 days with them, did PT with the troops. They couldn't figure how this old guy could run 5 miles with them. The whole deal.
He still got it.
Hey, but the deal was, I was able to eat with them, Michaela. And Frank and Sam, I was able to eat with them, talk with them, pray with them, encourage them.
We are running out of time, but I think it's really important to get with this one last comment in. We know that you're involved with First AME Church. You're a familiar face there, of course, and you're working on a campaign to clean up the music industry. Give us a line about why that is so important to you.
It's very important to me because we're talking about the next generation, and I think artists themselves, writers, producers, record company executives should be more responsible about what they're putting out to the public and to these young minds. And I started doing this like years ago. People told me I'd be out of the business before you know it, but instead, God had another plan, and I'm still here, and everybody's chasing me.
Reverend, what do you think of radio today?
What do I think of radio today? I think it's lackluster. I don't think it's creative as it should be. I don't think they're sensitive to the public as they should be, because we continue to hear, in my opinion, nonsense, all types of profanity, just things that don't make any sense for our society, for it could continue to be something that all of us would like to live in.
We are so glad to have you here. The book is titled The Gospel According to Reverend Walt Baby Love. His syndicated show can be heard in Los Angeles on KTLA 93.5 on Sunday mornings from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. He's an early riser. Real pleasure to have you here, Reverend.
Hey, thank y'all for having me.
Our
God
pleasure.
bless you.
You too. Take care of yourself.
Go do some PT now.
That's
Absolutely.
right. All right, coming up from Halloween to Hollywood, Gail